Thank you for coming to Foundry Engraving. My name's Chris. So, as a funny, I try to have some lessons learned from the first video I did, which was taking my OMTech maker out of the crate, and I definitely had some bloopers I added to that. I definitely have some bloopers for this one too. I thought I was recording the first time I was doing this, and I guess I clicked so fast it clicked twice. So I did the awesome setup of the chiller, the CW5200 chiller, not on video. So I'm gonna kind of walk back through it, the main points of it to hopefully help you out, and just laugh at my humor. As we all know, we learn from each other in this group of laser engravers, things like that. You go online, you ask questions. People always there, answer your questions, things like that. It's been an awesome community for the first 3 months I've been a part of it. So I'm hoping that I can carry that on a little bit, and if you guys get some laughs out of it, that's even better. So I just got my maker. I did the decrate, getting out of the box. So now I'm trying to hook up the chiller and the exhaust fan. So in the second part of the video, I'll talk about that. I took a little break while I filled up the coolant. And that way I didn't have to fast forward it, because that was causing me a lot of editing issues. So learned a lot on editing videos. So the chiller. So in comparison to like the what you normally get, which is you get this tub and you get a pump to pump water, distilled water preferably, through the machine. And for some people that works great. I'm in Florida. I'm not worried about the machine. I'm not worried about it freezing. I'm more worried about the heat and overheating. That is my biggest concern. So I want to have the chiller, since most of the time in Florida, it's gonna be warm. Plus, I'm not inside my home. This is my garage, the shop, so to say. So at some point, I'm gonna get an AC in here, but for right now, I don't have one. So it's one of those things that if it gets too cold, I'll put a heater out here, but if it gets too hot, I'm running with fans. So I really don't want my machine overheating. So I'd rather run the chiller, as well as I'm using the OMTech coolant. Like I said, I'm not worried about it freezing. I just want something that's a little bit resistant to temperature changes. So if it can keep from warming up as fast, that's a plus. So the biggest thing when you get your machine and you hook it up is when you look at the back of the machine, you have a water inlet and a water outlet. And on the back of your chiller, you have an outlet and an inlet. And the best way to think of this is you want your chilled fluid going out of your chiller into your machine. It's going to flow through the tube, warm up, and you want that warm water flowing out of your machine into your chiller. So out to in, out to in. So that's probably the easiest way to think about it, to make sure you have your hoses flowing correctly. So you get the out of the chiller to the in on the machine, the out of the machine to the in on the chiller. So another point of conversation is your laser tube. So this is the ecosystem. When you fill this up to full for the first time and then you turn it on, you're going to see that level go down. That is because all the water's in here, or fluid. Then now you're going to have fluid in whatever tubes you got going, the tubes within the machine, as well as your tube. So now some of the fluid in here is within this ecosystem. So once you run this, you set this up, you turn on and run it. Once it runs for a little bit, you're gonna have to top it back off. Another point to make is, it's easy to see, especially on this tube, compared to like the smaller tube on my K40. I could see right when I turn on, I could see the water flowing through here. I can definitely see larger air bubbles. So before you actually start using your laser, you want to make sure you get these bubbles out. You know, whether kind of gently rock it back and forth to get that air bubble to flow to the outlet. And that's why, like, if you see the outlet up on top, you know, you get the air bubbles to flow down, come out, come into here. So that way, this system from the inlet through here, there's no air bubbles. You don't want those air bubbles within that. So that's something that before you start using this, once you get everything hooked up, double check. Make sure that's all out. I'll do another video a little bit more about using the programming on this one. There's 3 different, I say, cases or settings for use. I'm gonna read through a little bit more, figure out which one's gonna be best for me in Florida. It looks like all of them look cool, like will work, but I'm gonna double check that and just see which one's gonna work best for me. I'll probably do another little video about that in the future. But if you have any questions, you know, post it up, message me. I'll be glad to answer it. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you got some laughs out of my rookie YouTube and how-to video skills. So the only thing is, you know, you can only go up from here, as they say in some Disney movies. So thank you very much. And I know the extra clip of the end of turn this on with the machine is on there, and then setting up the exhaust fan. Thank you. All right, so I got this filled up to full. It took me probably about 2 cartons of the containers of the OMTech laser coolant. I still have a little bit left. I had some left over. I had 1.5 goes into the K40 one, so I had a little bit left over in that one. It hasn't sat around for a while. As I said, I just kind of got into this like 2 months ago. So I'm going to get this turned on. So plugged it in, power switch on the back. And there we go. As you can hear, you may not be able to hear, but it's flowing. I can see the water already flowing through the tube, which is awesome. So like the biggest thing with this is before you start running your laser, you want to make sure you don't have a bunch of bubbles. And as you heard, the chiller just turned on as well, which is great. But the biggest thing is, like, there's a bubble right here. So before I turn the laser on, my goal is to get all the bubbles out. So that way there's consistent water and coolant, sufficient coolant, so to say, covering the entire tube. But as you look at the directions, like, it depends on where you are, and there's different scenarios within the manual based on what you want for your temperature setting. So you can go through and set this. I'll probably do a separate little video just on different settings on this in the future, especially for me being in Florida, what I can do to help keep this the coolest in my garage. I know I'll be installing the AC come the summer in here to help kind of keep everything chill, so to say. Bad dad joke. But anyway, so it's real simple on the coolant and on the chiller. So the other thing I want to talk about is the exhaust fan. So this comes with a blower, so to say, but it's more efficient because it pulls the air. It does a better job at pulling the air than pushing the air. So the big recommendation with these, and anytime you use this, is you want it as close to the exit as possible. So with that being said, if you put this right at the machine, it's going to pull everything out of the machine, but there's not going to be a lot of push to get it down however long the pipe is. As you notice, this big old long exhaust tube I have right here for my K40, it's right behind the camera. But the actual fan I have on that, which is slightly smaller than this one, is all the way at the end, and it sits at my garage door, and I extend like a 4-foot piece out, and it does a great job at pulling it all out of my garage, and then it kind of flows out, so I don't have it kind of being pushed back in by the wind if my garage door's open, things like that. So with the exhaust fan, it's just real simple. Make sure the arrow on it, that's the direction in which it's going to flow. So it's going to pull it and this way. So you're going to have one of these attached on one end, in which you're just going to use these nice little hose clamps right here. Screw it on. Super simple. And then do the same thing onto the machine. So one thing to note, I'm going to end up combining the 4-foot piece into the 6-foot piece with like a Y connector. So that way I only have really one exhaust port, because part of my upgrades for in here is to put a section to where instead of running a pipe outside, I just have an exhaust right here inside. It'll be kind of like in a section underneath the garage door. So this way I'll have this close to that, and whatever I have hooked up to it, it will pull. So that will be something I'll be playing with in the future, and we'll do some videos about. But yeah, it's pretty simple on these. Make sure arrow's pointing in the right direction. And then once I turn this around here, my machine's gonna go over here, coolant and cooler's gonna go here, and the exhaust is gonna be right behind it to go out the door. But this was a quick setup on both the exhaust fan, some conversation about the exhaust fan, and the chiller. If you got any questions, let me know. Thank you for tuning in.